This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
It's been a tense return to court as Susan Neal Fraser fights for an appeal against her murder conviction. Tasmania's chief prosecutor described the case as a mess as lawyers grappled over whether evidence could be heard. The court was also shown footage seized from a documentary crew relating to a statement from key witness Megan Vass.
Susan Neal Fraser's family and her legal team facing a tense day in the courtroom as her fight for an appeal nears its end.
Mr. Percy, your case was described as a mess. What's your response to that?
Neal Fraser needs to provide fresh and compelling evidence to win an appeal against her murder conviction. She was found guilty of killing her partner Bob Chappell on the couple's yacht off Sandy Bay in 2009, but his body hasn't been found. Detective Sergeant Shane Sinnott was in the witness box today. He was questioned over investigations into Megan Vass, a homeless girl whose DNA matched a sample from the yacht. He said an email from a shelter suggested she didn't stay there on the night of the murder. Lawyers going head-to-head today on the admissibility of evidence and what exactly constitutes fresh and compelling. The chief prosecutor saying of the line of questioning, what grounds does that go to? It's just a complete mess. Neal Fraser's lawyer responded, I reject that. A lot of this is contextual. Justice Brett ultimately ruled he will hear all the evidence to consider whether it is fresh and compelling. But he said, I am not going to referee a squabble between counsel. The court was shown video clips seized from a documentary production about the Susan Neal Fraser case. One showed a man dictating what he called the Megan Vass statement. The man told a woman to type, I was on the Four Winds yacht on the night of Australia Day 2009. I was there with people I won't name. I don't want to give any details except for that I was on the yacht. When Megan Vass appeared before this hearing last year, she said she was coerced into signing that, and it wasn't true. But with the bulk of evidence now heard, Neal Fraser's family say the case rests on science.
Hopefully that takes us through to the next stage where we can really flesh out the inadequacies of the conviction and see that an innocent person is in prison, and we still don't really know what happened to Bob.
Closing submissions will be heard tomorrow. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Two Tasmanians accused of being involved in the murder of 24-year-old Jake Anderson Bretner have fronted court for the first time. Jack Sadler stands accused of murder, while his partner Gemma Clark has been charged with being an accessory after the fact.
Visibly upset, friends and family of Jake Anderson Bretner walking into the Launceston Magistrates Court this morning, filling the courtroom. Police last night charged a Riverside couple with being involved in Jake's murder, following detectives being led to find what's alleged to be Jake's torso near Myrtle Park on Sunday night. Sitting in the dock in a plain black t-shirt, 26-year-old Jack Harrison Sadler sat with his head lowered as his defence asked for an adjournment with no plea entered. He's been charged with one count of murder and will remain in custody until his next court appearance in around 3 weeks' time. Meanwhile, his 25-year-old partner, Gemma Clark, has been charged with being an accessory after the fact of murder. She pleaded not guilty to the charge and was committed to stand trial in the Supreme Court. Ms. Clark did not apply for bail and will next appear on the 15th of October. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
The state government has today faced another round of intense questioning as pressure builds around the Angela Williamson saga. It's been revealed a staffer who trolled the ex-Cricket Australia employee was given a significant payout, which Labor's calling a reward for bad behaviour.
Back in the firing line, question time dominated by the ongoing Angela Williamson saga. Tempers triggered by the revelation a former senior government staffer was awarded up to a $45,000 payout earlier this year.
Premier, how do you justify rewarding Ms Haley's appalling bad behaviour at the expense of taxpayers?
Martine Haley was found to be trolling people online under an alias, including sending screenshots of Ms Williamson's tweets, which criticised the government's abortion policy, to her employer, Cricket Australia. The Premier's called the behaviour disgraceful and previously stated Ms Haley had offered her resignation following the misconduct, but today said it was her contract that hadn't been renewed.
Despite Ms Haley offering her resignation, you didn't accept it. Instead, you gave her a golden handshake of $45,000.
It is not for me to determine what their entitlements are under the law, and the so-called friends of the worker should understand that people are entitled to...
Claiming Labor's using the issue as a political plaything.
You are delighting in politicising a most sensitive matter, and that is a fair indication of the depths to which you have sunk.
We've got 2 minutes of silence. I'm just going to stand here and ask you to reflect so that we don't go through this again tomorrow.
And while another saga plays out federally.
Premier, whose side are you on? An authoritarian, racist, former immigration minister, or a Prime Minister with no spine and no principles, who's captive to the hard right of your party?
I can say that I am very strongly supportive of Malcolm Turnbull.
It remains a tumultuous time at all levels of the political circus. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Meanwhile, the Legislative Council has announced it will no longer hold an inquiry into changes to the state's gun laws, following the government's scrapping of the proposed policy. Ivan Dean says it can't go ahead with no terms of reference to work from, although there were over 100 submissions from the broader community.
There are many submissions identifying a number of reasons as to why it should be supported, but then we have submissions saying as to why there can be no relaxation of these laws at all.
The Premier says there will be a lower house inquiry to inform future policy using the submissions that have been put forward. Firefighters swarmed on Hobart's CBD this morning after an alarm was activated in the Wellington Centre just after 9 o'clock. Staff and shoppers evacuated parts of the complex as fire crews used thermal imaging cameras to check for fires in concealed areas. The issue was traced back to a false alarm believed to have been activated by a heater or sandwich toaster. After a lacklustre start to the season, snow has finally covered the slopes of Ben Lomond. Skiers today made the most of the good dusting, with some declaring it the best snow day of the year.
Dust off the snow boots. Winter is at last putting on a show at Ben Lomond.
Oh yeah.
It's the best day of the year we've had so far. Early snowfalls in the week have made for a really nice base underfoot, and the sun here, the days don't get much better than this.
It's been a bumpy start to the season, with fire gutting the Ben Lomond Alpine Hotel in May. Warmer temperatures and rain also not helping.
It's almost a death sentence up here when you get a bit of rain.
But today it was nothing except clear blue skies and pristine white snow. Those rugged up clearly delighted.
It is absolutely fantastic up here today. The weather couldn't be better, the instructors are great, the snow is perfect, it's just fantastic.
It's been amazing, great day, really good snow, the sky, no wind, perfect.
The stillness and the blue skies is just amazing.
Some needed a rest from all the excitement. Not even Mother Nature could resist the day out. The Bureau says a high pressure ridge moving across the state will dampen the chances of any fresh snow.
And that's just going to set up camp over the state for the next few days. So at least until the weekend, we're not going to be seeing any decent snowfalls because we don't have that cold air and we also don't have that precipitation that we need.
There's still a chance before then to pick up the ski poles.
For beginners that have never been to the snow, skiing's your best option because you've got a lot better control of balance.
But if you find skiing a little bit daunting, there's always an easier way down the slopes. Woo! Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian Game Council has been finalised, aiming to advise the state government on hunting, game and browsing animal management and deer farming matters. Members of the council were announced today and were selected based on their diversity and experience. It's also hoped, in consultation with the new council, the Parks and Wildlife Service will provide access to additional hunting areas by the next deer season for appropriately licensed and registered shooters. The Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers Association has welcomed the announcement. Let's now take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. A solid run of upbeat profit results has failed to keep Australian shares aloft as political uncertainty and the abandonment of big business tax cuts dominated news of the day. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 18.4 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 73.42 US cents and 109.67 New Zealand cents.
They were labelled as the side to watch this TSL season after acquiring a string of big-name recruits, but the Tigers couldn't match the hype, managing just 3 wins for the year. We caught up with Kingba coach Trent Bomella today to look at the season that was. He's been one of the more colourful characters this season.
Like, you clearly haven't watched the game because you've said there to Paul that you're expecting Glenorchy to get a confidence-boosting win this week. So maybe you've got to do a little bit more, mate. You wake up and you're happy and the sun's shining, even if it's raining.
After spending last year as an assistant at North Hobart, Bomella made the move to Kingborough to try his hand as head coach. Controversy ensued when 7 Demons players followed him to the Twin Ovals.
I wouldn't say dark times, but hard times. But the positive thing is we really responded from that as a group. All these things get chucked at you in the middle of it, and all you just want to do is play footy again.
With one of the best lists on paper, many believed this would be the Tigers' breakthrough year, but it wasn't to be, finishing second last on the ladder and falling short of finals once again.
When you have a bad performance or things aren't going your way, you just can't wait till Saturday, the following Saturday, to get that chance to go again and redeem yourself.
A win over the more heavily favoured Launceston in round 13, providing a glimmer of hope for the future of the club.
Everyone said that Lonnie on paper are the best list in the comp, so, you know, we were really down on numbers that week, so to knock them off that's the sort of things that you can build your culture off and build your group on.
And with star player Mitch Carter leaving the state, the club is now in the process of building on its list in the hopes of avoiding another underwhelming season in 2019.
We've got good contacts, you know, obviously with guys like Mackenzie Willis at Gold Coast, Kieran Lovell at Hawthorn, who know the lay of the land, and we're definitely tapping into those blokes to see who might be available.
And a former star of Australian tennis is bound for Tasmania's northwest, with Casey Delacqua named as the guest of honour for the upcoming Tasmania Tennis Awards. The former world number 3 doubles player returns to the Apple Isle, having claimed her first WTA main draw win at the Hobart International in 2005. The awards will be presented at the Burnie Tennis Club on September 22. The Devonport Strikers FFA Cup dream has been shattered, outclassed by Victorian NPL side Avondale overnight. The boys from Valley Road salvaging some pride on hostile turf, but falling well short of etching their name into the history books. Heading in as underdogs, the cracks began to show early for Devonport, with Avondale running rings around the Strikers' defence before converting their first of the night.
And now Shepherd. Oh yes! Avondale get the breakthrough, and the left foot hammer of Kane Shepherd has done the business.
The home side continued to loom large before Joel Stone gave the visitors a slight look in.
Here's Stone, a little grab of the shirt from Towns.
Controlling the bulk of play, it wasn't long before Avondale had another opportunity.
Free kick then, and it comes, it's a header from Archibald. And Ross Archibald, the skipper, rises to make it Avondale 2-0.
The Strikers awarded their first proper chance thanks to a penalty, with the side skipper making sure of it.
Not even close, straight down the middle, and Braden Mann has got Devonport back in business.
With the clock winding down and the match in the balance, a careless tackle was the last thing Devonport needed.
Oh, it's a straight red. That's a good hash. Guillermo Lafcano has given his marching orders, and Devonport will be down to 10 for the last 15 minutes.
Avondale capitalising soon after as Elvis Kempsoba whipped the home crowd into a frenzy.
Elvis arrives in the FFA Cup! And out comes the somersaults. It's 3-1 Avondale.
Exhausted and undermanned, the Strikers gifted the home side another just moments before the full-time whistle, with Tasmania's FFA Cup hopes dashed for another year.
Good evening. A ridge over Tasmania produced mainly fine conditions across the state today. Hobart and Launceston shared the state's high of 14 degrees and it reached a top of 12 in both Burnie and Devonport. 13 was the lucky number for Smithton, Lowhead, King Island, Scottsdale, St Helens, Friendly Beaches, Campania, Cressy, Grove, Medina, Ouse and Strawn, all warming up to that number. It was 12 on Flinders Island and 8 at Lyowini. Now, patchy low clouds sat over the state today, and when we zoom out, we can see that unstable cloud did extend over the southeast of the mainland, with a cold front over South Australia. Tomorrow, a high moves to the northeast of Tasmania as that cold front crosses the centre of the country. Looking to the coast, winds northeast to northwesterly, 5 to 15 knots, and swells to 3 metres in the west. And there is a road weather alert for icy roads across most of the state, so do take care. A partly cloudy day for Hobart tomorrow, 14 the top, the same for New Norfolk. Cygnet, partly cloudy and 13. Launceston, a frosty start ahead of a mostly sunny day, a top of 15 there. Devonport, partly cloudy and 13. Early fog and frost for Campbelltown. A partly cloudy day for the northwest, Burnie, Strawn and Smithton all looking at a top of 13 degrees. And 15 for St Helens, mostly sunny. Swansea, sunny and 15 degrees, a frosty start for Fingal. Now looking ahead to Friday, morning frost and fog ahead of a fine day across the state. Saturday, a wet start to the weekend for western parts, but mostly fine elsewhere. And more showers about the west on Sunday. Further north, a partly cloudy day for Perth and Melbourne tomorrow. Both looking at a top of 18 degrees. It'll be 19 in Sydney. Brisbane 24 and mostly sunny, a top of 31 for Darwin. And finally, let's take a look at the current conditions around the state. That's all for today's weather. Back to you, Joe.
Well, that's all from the news team for now. Have a great evening. We'll see you a little later. Bye-bye.